friends, I'm Hannah, and it's my first time on NFI.
Oh, the Nerd Fighters!
So before I get started, I want to say one thing. Thanks Pat for yesterday's video because that's pretty much what I wanted to say, but you said it way better. So, considering I have a few different ideas, we'll just move on. But yes, hold on. So I want to talk about language. I think that language is one of the most mind-blowing things there is, and I'm not just talking about the physicality of it, even though that is pretty mind-blowing. I can just like push air through my vocal cords and move my lips and do different things so that I make these really like precise noises that somehow turn into meaning for you, and that's just crazy. But anyway, besides that, language is so cool. I speak Spanish and I speak Chinese and English, obviously. Let me tell you about Chinese, okay? It's a tonal language, which means that how you say the syllable changes the meaning, which means you have to be very on point with it. So, for instance, ma, 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 and ma, ma. Those five tones mean different things. Ma is horse. Ma is mom. You don't want to say that your mom is a horse, do you? Okay, no one does. It's just not a thing. So yes, tones, they have to be very precise, and lots of languages have tones, but all of them seem to do the tone slightly differently, and so it's just a big old mess of tones in it, but it just makes the language sound really pretty. Have you heard Chinese? Besides tones, Chinese is just so interesting because there are consonants that I had to learn that I still not quite sure that I got them right. But for instance, zhi, chi, shi are different from zhi, chi, shi, and yes, I know, and maybe I'm saying it wrong, but zhi, chi, shi and zhi, chi, shi, and I'm just talking about the vowel, I'm talking about the consonants. So yes, very different from English, and I love it. Another thing that makes languages cool is the written word, the alphabet, and like there's phonetic alphabets like what we have in English with the Latin alphabet, but there's plenty of other languages that use phonetic alphabets that look completely different, like Arabic or Korean or I believe Thai, and it's just cool. But then there are other languages that, like Chinese, that uses basically meaning-ish and symbols to get across more of what the word means than how you say it, which made learning Chinese a bit of a challenge, but it worked out. Yeah. I don't know enough about other alphabets to talk about them. I just know Chinese and the Latin alphabet. So if there are cool things about alphabets that I need to know, please tell me in the comments. I would love to see them. Besides even the obvious factors that go into language of how you say things and how you write things, like the cultural side of language is interesting too. Like John and Hank recently talked on Dear Hank and John about code switching, and I thought that was interesting because I had heard about it before, but I hadn't really thought about it a lot. But it's basically when you switch how you talk and what words you use depending on what situation you're in or who you're talking to. And it's something that you never think about per se, but you do it all the time. But it really affects how people view you because you need to be precise in your language if you're talking to someone who's more on the business side of things or the more formal side of things. But with your friends, you can say however you want and kind of get to the point eventually and use slang and mumble, and it's great. Anyways, let's move on. Language changes over time and adapts to its environment and its culture and everything. And English before the internet is very different than English after the internet. I mean, obviously a lot of it is the same, but there are so many new phrases and words and things that we do now that just wasn't a thing before the internet. And also, it kind of makes me think of when Shakespeare influenced English back in his time by verbing nouns and nouning verbs, and also just adding his own words. And some of the words that he did are things like zany and multitudinous, and swagger. Language just has so much history behind it because, you know, there used to be Old English and then Middle English and then this English, and it's all English-ish, but it's changed so much over time that Old English is like not English that we know. We can't understand it. You have to actually take it like a language class, which is crazy. And now things are changing, like we're sharing more and more words with different languages. Chinese says kupila if you want to say something's really cool. Basically, my point here is language is mind-blowing and super cool and complex and precise and adaptable and just crazy. I hope you know more than one language because I think that if you do, you have a more interesting worldview on things and an idea of how the world is diverse and how that's awesome. And if you do know more than one language, please use it. I don't use Spanish and Chinese nearly as much as I should, and I already can tell that I'm losing a lot of Chinese because I use it the least, and that's very sad to me. If you only know one language, that's okay. It's never too late to start learning a language, and even if you do it through Duolingo or Rosetta Stone or from your friends or the internet or just learning a couple of phrases just to learn them because it's cool, then yeah, you should do that. And if you think language is cool, please let me know why in the comments. Like, is there some cool thing about alphabets that I don't know about? Is there some cool thing about your language? If you speak a different language, tell me something really interesting about your language, and I want to just hear what do you have to say. That's all I gotta say. I hope you enjoyed this. Madison, I'll see you tomorrow. Adios amigos. Bye friends. 再见朋友.